Hi students, this is an introduction to your Long 6 assignment, Typologies. Question and answer is the subtitle of the assignment. This is going to be due in 3 parts, primarily because I want to first hear your ideas for what you plan to do and give you an okay, because I like this subject matter that you're choosing for this project to be a bit more interesting than just a simple collection of things. Then you're going to have images that you're going to shoot for this assignment, at least 15 as a minimum, and then you're going to end up generating a single image that's a grid of those images that you've taken. So as you're seeing up here above, this is a good example of this being a single image by the artists Bern and Hiller Becher, who are famous for their typologies, these specifically of industrial landscape architecture and structures. So what you're looking at is a single image that's a grid of a collection of like images. So the term typology is generally seen as a classification according to a general type, especially in archaeology, psychology, and social sciences. But in our case, we're going to be using this as artists. So what I wrote here is artists often make art to answer questions. Seeking questions to answer is an investigation. We seek answers to our own questions and or larger societal questions. Photography is particularly adept at recording and collecting, much like an investigator collects evidence. For this assignment, you're going to create a series of typologies. Okay, now I've given some examples here. I'm gonna just briefly show you what they look like, but I don't think this is overly complex in the sense of the initial idea of what a typology is. There are some that might seem a little bit stranger than others, but this, for example, is by the artist August Sanders. If you look through this, what you'll see is this is a series of portraits, and what makes them a typology are their specific time frame and how they're classified. So these are all Germans at a particular time in German history where there's a significant societal shift, and what's groups them together and makes them, again, that typology is their nationality. Okay, so it can be as broad as that, but then you see signage, hands, right, or palms. It's a good series of isolated homes, so homes that either abandon or do not have active neighbors, and so on. And we looked at the Bern and Hiller Becher. Okay, now I've given you a few other resources here that are really great, and I would push you to look at these. This is a blog that has a post dedicated to typologies. This is a collector of collections. Now, I think some of these are really wonderful, but some of them are a little bit, in my opinion, too easy. Potentially, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with some of them, but some of them are just, things we already know. I don't think they're deep questions or anything is heavily revealed by photographing these shoes and showing them to us. Okay. This is a artist who did a series called Exactitudes, and these are based on kind of generic stereotypes of people. So these are kind of terms that are used to classify and group people based on their appearance. Okay. Now this isn't photography, but I think this is a good example of how typographies can work in other instances. These are all maps of malls. And you start to see by the collection of them how malls are organized, right? And there's a repetition on how they're organized and how they're laid out. Okay, and this is actually a more local artist out of Bloomingdale. And these are called Ridgemont Typologies. You can see this artist is really thinking about place. Even graphics. Right, so he photographs signage, hotels, car handles, home entrances. These are kind of consumer landscapes, and so on. I think you get the idea, right? So initially and pretty quick, I want to have a few ideas. Then I want you to start shooting, and then we're going to generate that grid. Now, below here, I've given you a few links to how you align objects and guides, align elements in your design, and how to use photograph to distribute objects. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post along with this assignment a video showing you how I would do a general layout. Now, the tricky thing with this assignment, and I'm going to expect that you just experiment, is that there is a bit of math involved in this process, and I'm gonna try my best to give you a general guide on how to do that, but everybody's gonna have a bit of a unique situation, because maybe you want your grid to have all horizontal images or all vertical images. Maybe you want to have 3 across by 4 down, right? Or 5 across by 3, right? So you have different dimensions, and that ultimately that document is going to change. Now, I'm gonna suggest rather than overcomplicating that, maybe starting with just a much larger canvas in Photoshop, and just trying to determine the space between each image that you're happy with, in that distance, and then just lay out that object, and then, or out those images, lay those images out, and then you can come in and crop from that point if you'd like. Now, if there's any questions, of course, reach out, and look forward to seeing your work.